understand it so that no matter whether you work in the financial services industry, don't work in the financial services industry, things are going to make sense to you. But today, we got an extra special show. I'm very excited. It is Black History Month. We've got like another week left. And a couple of things happened that got me thinking about the topic for today's show. Today's show, we're going to be talking about economic advancement. We're celebrating Black history. We're talking about economic advancement. And as a young person, I grew up in the Bronx. I went to CES 229, which is on Roberto Clemente State Parkway, I believe. And every Black History Month, we had, our teacher, Mr. DeLuca. I think he did like, the, what do you call those things when you have to do the plays and the singing and all that stuff. And at every year, or excuse me, we would have to talk about, we would end up singing the song, We Shall Overcome. And I didn't like singing the song We Shall Overcome. So I blame my mother for it, but it's because she had taught me a little bit more about Black history than what we were doing at school. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about the past. We're going to talk about economic stuff that happened in the past, some economic stuff that's happening today. And then we're also, in our second hour, we're going to be talking about nonprofits and their benefactors. So one of the things that happened this week, I ended up reading an article in Harper's Bazaar, which I thought was the most amazing, visually stunning article. And it was about Cardi B. She won a Grammy last week, and there was a whole lot of drama that unfolded with that. But this particular article had to do with her being a rags to riches story, a Cinderella story. And it got me thinking, when they talk about minorities, whether it's African Americans, Caribbeans, people of African descent, are we really rags to riches, or is it a comeback? So think about that for a minute. And in everything that I talk about today on today's show, you can go ahead and research it, look it up, and make your own, have your own opinions, digest it for yourself. And then we're also going to take a look at some of the Game of Thrones stuff that's been happening between Jeff Bezos and our president. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So looking at the Cardi B story, as I started doing a lot of research, my whole head exploded when I learned about a lot of the black towns and settlements in the United States in the early 1900s that were extremely prosperous. And, you have to ask yourself, where did that wealth go? And as I started doing research, I realized that some of it was terrorized away, some of it was stolen away, and some of it was robbed or burnt to the ground. And on the way, when we get back, we're going to make a couple of MAGA heads, Make America Great heads explode. We're going to talk about who is the actual financial GOAT, the greatest financial person of all time.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me. Whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the app.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You use Tearless Baby Shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet, fingerling, Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
Thank you for joining us today on Financial Renaissance with the M's. This is a show where we keep our financial ears and eyes open to bring back information relevant to you, your family, your business, and your bank account, and most of all, our communities. I'm your host, Emma Foulkes, and my co-host, Emmanuel Glaze. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, everybody. We got the relaxing music.
Oh, so soothing.
Yeah, I know. On a Sunday. We got Emma in the building. I like the shirt.
Thank you. I was, this matches. It matched my shoes.
Coordinated on a Sunday morning. Black History Month coordinated.
Hey, we are the flashiest.
We are.
You know?
And I'm sure you got something to jump into about
Oh,
right
I do have a lot to jump into. I was talking about, you know, I don't know if you saw the article on Harper's Bazaar. It was talking about Cardi B and her rags to riches story and her Cinderella story. And every time I hear that word rags to riches, it irritates me ever so slightly.
Why?
Well, you know, if you had a people, the richest continent on the planet
Right,
has been Africa.
right.
And if you had these people over in Africa that had all the wealth, the gold,
Right.
the diamonds, all the natural resources that everyone wanted, and you kidnap them,
Yep.
and you bring them to this country, you know, hey, it is what it is.
Right.
A lot of these people who were enslaved, once they got freed, they became millionaires. They had prosperous settlements, towns, things of that nature. So in the early 1900s, there were a lot of towns that, you know, that were self-sufficient, meaning they
Right.
didn't need any outside help. So if these towns had, you know, were self-sufficient, didn't need any outside help, and then many of them were burned to the ground. Okay, and if they were burned to the ground, insurance companies didn't even help out. So because it was a riot, and you can look at your own insurance policy, certain insurance companies will not pay out if you die or lose property because of a riot. Okay?
Interesting.
Very interesting. Till today.
You know, you messed me up the other day. I forgot that what Gap man stood for, the Gap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you know.
Black Wall Street. Well,
Yeah.
one of the Black Wall Streets, because
Right.
there were several. And
Right.
as I was doing my research, you know, I really, really got blown away by that. And so I'm thinking, okay, so you kidnapped us from the richest continent. So we were wealthy, although we probably didn't look at it in the same way. We come to this country, we are enslaved for hundreds of years, and then we're freed, and then we're wealthy again.
Right.
And then it gets all burnt down.
Right.
So is that rags to riches, or is it a comeback?
It probably should be a comeback instead. But you know, it's interesting. You talk about the history of our country. We don't bring those pieces up.
They need to be brought up, and it's not to elicit guilt from any race or anything like that. It's just, it's the narrative. The children need to know, and I thank my mother. As a young child, I was always very rebellious. I refused to sing. I refused to participate in a lot of Black history stuff because it felt demoralizing to me. Always singing "We Shall Overcome." I'm not, fourth grade, I would sit down and they'd have to call my mom. She's not participating again.
She's sitting down.
She's sitting down again. She's taking a knee. And because it felt bad to me. It didn't feel like something that made me happy. When Black History Month came about, I didn't feel happy. I felt like almost embarrassed.
Right.
Like, I'm not asking you for anything. And so.
And I'm from a small town, so they really didn't even get into that.
What do you mean?
My little town is like about 5,000.
No. I mean, what do you mean they didn't get into it?
We didn't do Black History back then.
You didn't have Black History Month growing up?
I didn't get it until I came to Atlanta. We knew about it, and we had still struck. I mean, a lot of the times in my town we were late to a lot of things.
Okay.
Let me say it like that.
Okay.
And so I hear a lot of people say, "Yeah, we celebrated when I grew up." I'm like, well, I didn't know about Black History.
That's why I blew your mind with Black Solidarity Day, right? Yeah.
Because some of the days you were talking about, I was like, we didn't hear that stuff because we was in a small town and we weren't running the town. Gotcha. Well,
to me, it is very important that parents teach their children about history, not just the atrocities of things that have happened in your culture, whether you're Black, Asian, what have you, but you need to teach kids about things that they can be happy about or aspire to. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So what we're going to do, what is it? I'm going to, head sprung, when people's head blows up. We're going to get our heads sprung right now. So we're going to talk about the financial goals, because as I was doing all my research, I realized that there is one person in the history of our planet that had wealth like no other.
Right.
All right. So in today's dollars, this person's wealth is estimated to have been about 400 billion. Mm-hmm. One person. There is nobody else alive today.
Right.
All right. Donald Trump's head is probably blowing up right now. This guy's name was Mansa Musa the First. He was the richest person in history with a total net worth of about 400 billion. He was born in 1280.
Wow.
All right. Died in 1331. And he ruled the Malian Empire, which covered modern-day Ghana, Timbuktu, and Mali, okay? And at the time, his empire produced over more than half of all the gold and salt in the world. Yeah. Right? And they took a little bit of, T'Challa from Wakanda, although they took lots of little pieces of other kings from him. But that was one of the
big ones,
yeah, he was one of the big ones.
What three countries again?
Mali, Ghana, and Timbuktu. Modern day Mali, Ghana, and Timbuktu.
Yeah,
right?
but those are very important areas.
Right. And then, so, there was so much that I could talk about. There were so many, kings. And so all I did was pick, little pieces. So again, go do your own research, and you want to pass this knowledge on to your kids.
You got Google, so go get it.
I used to have to go to the library.
Yeah, we had to pull up the little cards, the index cards.
Yeah.
You got that choice now.
Yeah, we had to know the Dewey Decimal System. You kids don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about that at all. But next up, what we're going to talk about is we're going to go across the pond. Okay. We're going to come to the U.S. and we're going to talk about the first millionaire of African descent and possibly the most wealthy African American until modern day, 20th century times.
Let's do it.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian on 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Palace.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience, an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
It is Sean Prime from Inside the Loop with myself and Brenna B, and I've been talking about Jeans Body Tech for a minute simply because it's a premier gym in a pristine spot without a premium price. All the weight you need, all the machines you want, free parking, all in Buckhead. Come on, it's crazy. 700 Miami Circle is where you want to work out today. And for those who are feeling a little bit down because you may not have followed through on the healthy New Year resolution thing, hey, it's still the new year. You can start today. Look at yourself a year from now and hello, is that you? Because you're looking good, like snack-like. Yes, you are. 700 Miami Circle, or go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech, also known as JBT Fitness. Either way, $49 is nothing to pay to feel your best every day.
Already coaching? Everybody's a coach these days. I get it. Life coach, relationship coach, financial coach. But you want to be a coach with integrity. So get certified and do it the right way. Or add coaching to the work that you already do. Join a cohort or take classes at your own pace. We have knowledgeable instructors. We have a life-changing curriculum. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com to learn more.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's. We are streaming on ssnatl.com, and you can find us live on Facebook at Sensation Station Network. Go ahead and hit that like button, and you can text us. Join in on the conversation. If there's something that you want to share with us, you can text us at 678-613-5857. You can call us, or you can text us. All right. So what we have, we're going to talk about William Alexander, I believe it's Liedendorf, and also Jeremiah Hamilton. Liedendorf was one of the first African-American millionaires. And as I started trying to define what was African American, because I was really trying to look at what happened, you know, on the journey from Africa across the Atlantic to the Americas, and then what I considered African American changed up, you know, because then there's the Caribbean. So I really tried to keep a lot of what I did to the lower 48 states.
Gotcha.
Okay. So William Liedendorf, he was into shipyards, lumber yards, and real estate in the early to mid 1800s, and he built the first hotel in San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah. And in today's wealth, he would have been worth about $20 million adjusted, and every number that I give you is going to be adjusted for inflation.
Gotcha.
So I found a calculator. I found a calculator online where I could go back and put in what a person's net worth was and inflate it at, you know, I used about 2.9%, which is the average of what inflation is, to bring it to today's dollars.
See, she always doing that extra stuff.
Yeah, I do too much extra
This is
stuff.
for y'all out there.
Yes. So
Emma knows money. I'm sorry. Go
Emma does know. Emma loves to talk about money, and money, you know, it makes the world go round. Right. And so as I was doing the research on William Liedendorf, I knew already from another show that I had done about Jeremiah Hamilton, and they call this guy the Prince of Darkness. All right. He was in New York City, and I feel. And I still have more research to do. I feel he was the wealthiest African American until the 20th century. Till the 20th century. When he died in 1875, his net worth was $250 million. Current time in today's dollars. Now, the reason why I like this guy is, one, he was in New York. Okay. And he bought up a bunch of properties in 1835 after the Great Fire of New York. You know, fire departments are something relatively new. So back in the day, people would burn each other's properties down, et cetera, and, you know, you would have these volunteer firefighters. It was a whole mess, right? Let it burn, right? So he ended up buying up a whole bunch of properties, and he is possibly the first black man to have an office on Wall Street.
Wow.
Okay. He also bought up properties in Astoria, I'm assuming Queens, and Poughkeepsie, New York. And the one thing I really like about this guy is he was really ahead of his time.
Right.
He didn't back down to anybody. He would actually get into legal and physical altercations with Vanderbilt, Cornelius Vanderbilt. They fought on the courthouse steps.
Yeah, you gotta look up. Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, and back in that day, and people came to his house. He also married a white woman, so he just completely went against the grain.
Yeah.
Mobs used to come to his house to try to get him.
1870s, yeah.
Yeah, this is like 1850s, 1860s. They were coming to get him, and he just didn't care. So when I look at stuff like that, I always think like, wow, how would my life have been different if I'd heard about that as a kid?
Right.
If you knew that there was somebody that went against the grain, somebody that looked for opportunities,
Right.
Economic opportunities.
And y'all don't understand how big that Vanderbilt is. If you ever want to look up what Cornelius Vanderbilt did.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was a big deal.
Yeah.
Very big deal.
For him to stand up to him. That's
Yeah, isn't Vanderbilt? Isn't that Anderson Cooper's probably great grandfather?
Something like that up in
Yeah,
there.
because he's also of Vanderbilt descent. Another woman that I took a look at, there was a slave owner, and this had me cracking up. There was a slave owner named David Dixon. He had a bunch of kids. Some of them were, he had with his slaves, and one of his bastard children is what they called them back then. Her name was Amanda America Dixon. Well, when her father died, he left her the majority of his estate.
Wow.
And this is like in the this was around 1885.
Right.
That was unheard of.
Yeah.
Usually the money went to the wife, your legitimate children that
Or
you
you
had with your
claimed,
wife,
yeah.
right? You're right. The ones that you had with your married lawful wife, or your siblings, things of that nature. So this went to court, for a couple of years, and they were here in Georgia, and the Supreme Courts here in Georgia ruled that it's hers. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can find this. The higher court stated that the rights of each race are controlled and governed by the same enhancements of principles of law. In other words, whatever rights and privileges belong to a bastard white child belong to a mixed race child as well.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of people don't understand that during those times, people were becoming millionaires. And it's just funny, I think when you talk about the time that they're talking, you're looking at probably some steel, because even though we were freed.
Right, well, some people, yes.
Some people were.
Some people were.
But you talking about you brought the state of Georgia up. And just think about that. When you talk about the state of Georgia, and she still was able to get quote-unquote money.
Right.
Like Cardi B
Right.
say today.
Right.
She got money.
Right, and the whole family fought them, but in today's dollars, she was worth about $7 million, but it was a landmark, it was a landmark decision back then.
Okay.
That this money went to this
That's
person.
crazy. That's see, Emma's dropping knowledge on y'all. Like,
Yes.
See, they just tell you about, and these are the things that a lot of things you have to go out and find, and you're in the research.
Right, again, as a child, now not this one because she inherited the wealth, right? But there's so many stories of people who got out there and got on their grind and, made things happen. Biddy Mason was another one. She was a ex-African-American slave. She even knew that by her owner taking her to California, she would be able to fight for her her freedom, and nobody said anything to the owner. So she ended up fighting for her freedom, and I'll talk a little bit about her on the other side. So I would like to introduce our guest. We have a very special guest today.
Yeah, he's kind of special.
He is very special to me. This is the reason why I do everything that I do. And young man, would you like to tell us who you are?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Foulkes. Special thanks to Emmanuel and Emma and Sensation Station Network for having me.
And Emma.
And Emma. Ramius is in the building.
Yes, Mr. Foulkes, Mr. Foulkes.
We'll talk to him.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
It is Sean Prime from Inside the Loop with myself and Brenna B, and I've been talking about Gene's Body Tech for a minute, simply because it's a premier gym in a pristine spot without a premium price. All the weight you need, all the machines you want, free parking, all in Buckhead. Come on, it's crazy. 700 Miami Circle is where you want to work out today. And for those who are feeling a little bit down because you may not have followed through on the healthy New Year resolution thing, hey, it's still the new year. You can start today. Look at yourself a year from now and hello, is that you? Because you're looking good, like snack-like. Yes, you are. 700 Miami Circle, or go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech, also known as JBT Fitness. Either way, $49 is nothing to pay to feel your best every day.
Listen, as a hiring manager, I've got to tell you, the best job candidate isn't always the typical candidate. Sometimes they're a grad of life.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones you're used to.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You use Tearless Baby Shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet, fingerling, Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
SSN18M.com. Sensation Station Network.
And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's, and today is a great show. We are celebrating Black Wealth.
Wealth on our Black History
Month, the shortest month of the year, but it doesn't matter. And I have a great time with it. My business partner, Jeffrey Wright, does some really, really cool stuff on Instagram. You've probably seen some of the posts, the first two.
Yeah.
The side piece.
Yeah. Thought it was very interesting.
Yes, you have to laugh sometimes. You have to laugh sometimes. We have a very, very special guest on the show today. I am. Why don't you go ahead and?
Well, this young man has a great voice. And, he is the Emma's twilight in the eye.
Twinkle of my eye.
Ramius Foulkes is in the building. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Before we go, where did the name come from? Let me ask.
What name?
Ramius.
Oh, wow. Ramius. So.
I like the name. I just think it's dope. And so.
Yeah, I don't think he likes it because he's like, Mom, any name that ends with an IUS is usually ghetto. And I'm like, what? You don't know what I went through for this name. So his name was supposed to be Ramses Folks. But, from the Pharaoh.
The Pharaoh.
Right. So his name is Ramius Kemet. And Kemet is the name that the... Oh, you know what that is?
Yeah.
Oh, Well, tell us.
I mean, I'm let you go.
No.
I know of it. I don't know
Okay,
as
so
deep as you
Kemet
do.
is the name of that Egypt. That's what they call themselves, the land of black. So I named him Ramius Kemet, or it was supposed to be Ramses Kemet Rakim. Get it?
Gotcha.
but
Ra.
but which is also the sun god.
Right.
At the time in the 90s, Ramses was also the name of a condom, right? And one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that if I gave my child a name, it would not be a name that they would get teased about. You know, imagine your kid being named Trojan. So Ramius,
Hey, you owe her.
you owe me big time.
You owe her.
Thank you.
So, sir, why don't you tell us a little bit about, I've been stressing the importance of teaching children about Black history. And I remember about 15 years ago, you being very upset with me because you were on spring break and you had an assignment, not school assignment, but a mom assignment. You want to tell us about one of those, any of them?
When I was a child, I don't think I had a very traditional upbringing because instead of getting in trouble or, doing traditional punishments, my mother was mad at me. She'd make me look up Black people of prominence, of significance.
I'm gonna enjoy this one.
I remember that, I forgot what I did, but long story short, the punishment was to read the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Wow.
And I have to say that after that punishment, it completely changed the way that I looked at the world. Learning the truth about Detroit Red, as was previously known, before Malcolm X, before the prominence, the proliferance of his involvement in the Black community.
Wait, so hold on, Ray. Hold on. I'm gonna have fun with this one today. Don't bring your family to work. So but so you had to. That was actually like that punishment. You had to learn.
Yes.
Through your punishment. And
Yes.
the first thing that how old were you when you read the autobiography?
I had to have been freshly in high school, so I would say anywhere from 13 to 15 years old.
Wow. That's a great one to read too. I mean, Detroit Red, for y'all don't know, that's Malcolm X prior to the switching to that. And so when you got to that point, as you've grown now, what did those times and those readings and all that meant to you?
After having the ability to ruminate on that information for some 10 years, I guess, because it's been about 10 or more years, probably 16 years, looking at the parallels between that time period and the extremely polarized time period that we are now, it makes me appreciate what he was trying to do. Because now more than ever, we see a need for what he was doing.
Right.
Community involvement.
Right.
Meal programs.
Right.
Access to health care, to food, to water,
It's
to
amazing how that
basic
stuff
resources.
is still important today.
Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water.
Right. And community involvement and things that we still lacking in our communities.
Indeed.
Yeah. So Emma, you okay with that?
Oh yes, I'm fine. I'm just listening. I'm just taking it in his vocabulary. Every once in a while, he says words, and I'm like, oh, I need to write that down. And look
Ruminate
it
is
up.
a great one.
Yeah, I need to look that up.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
So as we go through, Emma, I mean, I see you wrote some certain things down, Ramius, and then
I most certainly did.
Talk to us about them, Emma.
About him? Oh, well, Ray, why don't you talk to us a little bit about, as a millennial, when you look at today's economy, you're coming at things from a different vantage point than we did.
Okay.
Right? So when you look at today's economy, kind of describe to us, how do young people navigate today's economy? What's better? Is it better for you today than possibly it was for me, or is it worse for you guys today than it was for us?
All surveys point to worse in terms of opportunity for my age group. We live in a society that's so interconnected to the heights of which we're probably never contrived, but still the opportunities for advancement and I would say the deterrent and barriers to entry in certain avenues, professions like doctors, lawyers, programs that create jobs that have wealth generating capability beyond your current lifetime. I don't think those opportunities are as readily available as they previously were.
So
anyone can go to college, anyone can get a student loan, but no one can get a business loan.
That's funny because, they always say, and we're going to bring it back when we talk on the other side, is that you can get $250,000 in student loans, but you can't get $20,000 in a business loan.
No.
That's crazy.
And that changes depending on your skin color as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely. So y'all stay with us.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Jerk Palace.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He'd guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Hey, so we're back, man, and I'm glad y'all are here. This is important. And Emma's here with her son, Ramius, and Ramius brought up a very good point about today's time is a little bit rougher economically for the younger people than people think, Ramius. I think people think, y'all got it good, you got all this social media opportunities and all that, but you just broke down something that people didn't really realize. Talk about it, expound on that a little bit more about how is it rougher now for you guys than it was back then.
As young people, we have access to so much information that we can start our own businesses, we can start our own foundations, we can be the change that we want to see. We just simply don't have access to the economic resources that our seniors do. When I say our seniors, I just simply mean the people who have been on the earth longer than us.
Yeah.
We have pockets and communities and age groups that have access to considerable wealth in relation to the millennial generation. Your 90, I think 93 is the oldest or youngest millennial, I'll say.
Gotcha.
For those that don't know, because that's a very just arbitrary term that's used to describe young people.
Right.
We can go to college, we can spend all this money investing in an education to go into a job market that doesn't have any openings.
Wow.
Yeah, that says a lot. And that's frustrating as a parent to hear your kid say something like that,
Wow. And you get to hear from both sides. So when we come back, we got more. Stay with us.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay. Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and he guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Big business. This is the American West.
Station Network. Hey, welcome back, everybody. You listen to Financial Renaissance with the M's, with your boy Glaze and Emma, folks. Emmanuel and Emma, M's. And we're here right now talking to the great Ray, folks. Hello. He's here talking. And what I wanted to talk about, Ray, do you feel like, we were just talking about it, and what we were talking about were this generation is feeling that they don't have the opportunities to have the wealth or the opportunity to build their economy like we did now. Let me ask you this. Do you feel that, is it more because of the way the society is right now, or is it our generation? I say it, generation, what we call X. X didn't build enough to allow you guys to get there.
I don't think it's any fault of Generation X. I actually feel like it's the baby boomer generation, the generation that had the booming war economy, who didn't really invest into the future. If you look at it, a lot of people in the Gen X group, they're still suffering from or repairing their fortress, their financial fortress from the recession.
Right.
People are still rebuilding their lives, and so you can't really blame someone that was thrust into an improperly constructed financial foundation, for lack of a better term.
So you're trying to get somebody to do something with a burnt down house and trying to rebuild.
Hey, like we talked about last week, you know, when we were talking about the pay and what is it, unions and the wage. So a lot of this crunching down, it's trickling down into other generations.
Right, and you can tell.
And you can tell.
And that's why I want to make sure, because I feel like our generation, Emma generation, is trying to build and still trying to raise the millennials.
And take care of their parents. We're called actually the sandwich generation now.
That's a good point.
Where it's, and that we'll do a whole show about that. You know, that's a whole other show.
So we're responsible for what happened before us and trying to build for what's happening in front of us.
But to his point, a lot of people really got set back. A lot of wealth got wiped off the map during the recession. You know, and you saw, you know, I had the clip coupons for the first time in my life. Like, the recession hit, it humbled me.
Yeah.
Financially, it humbled me. It humbled me.
And that was a tough time. Go ahead, though.
To give you a perspective, most young people aged, 12 to 14, that's when they get their first job. When the recession hit, I was 13 to 15. I couldn't learn to work. I couldn't get my first summer job.
Well, we're here dropping out these, so, Emma, what we got coming up?
So coming up, we're going to kind of continue talking with our greatest joy, and then we'll hit some Emma Knows Money.
Greatest joy.
My greatest joy.
Greatest joy.
It better be me.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, talk, touch their hair. Details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones we carry with us every day. Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win the Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and he guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Everybody successful lays a blueprint out. We laid the blueprint out. I stayed true to my dreams, and by doing that, eventually it came true.
A lot of times, you know, it's like in life, right? Life brings like drama, and you gotta deal with this person, and then you funky relationship here, and all these things. You try and just kind of balance them out as best I can.
Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do.
Unleash your beast. Write your history.
And we are Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am the MF, and that is the EG. And we are talking to Ramius Foulkes, our millennial expert on economics. We are celebrating Black wealth, and right now we're going to be talking about some wealth trailblazers.
Hold on, real quick. Shout out to Edith Biggers.
Oh.
She said, "Go Emma."
Dr. Biggers.
Dr. Biggers.
Dr. Biggers.
So
yes.
shout out to Dr. Biggers.
Shout out to Dr. Biggers. So, Emmanuel, when you think about women, black women in our country, when you think of the first female, the richest female, or the first woman millionaire, what comes to mind?
Madam C.J. Walker.
Madam C.J. Walker. But do you know she wasn't the first?
Really?
Yes, man. When I tell you, I went down a rabbit hole and got lost. I got lost. So the actual first, America's first and most prominent businesswoman, her name was, oh gosh, now I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Malone, and I apologize. I'll put it up on the website. What she did was she founded and developed Poro College, and it was a commercial and education business focused on cosmetics for black women. Wow. She was born to former slaves, so she is, first generation freed, and she later developed a chemical, ladies, that could straighten black women's hair without causing damage to the hair or scalp. Okay. Really? So this college that she had was an institution of learning that was supposed to teach people about black cosmetology. And so she ended up creating 75,000 jobs for women around the world. 75,000 jobs. So again, when we're looking at business owners are job creators. Right. She's recorded as the first black millionaire, and her wealth in today's standards would have been, and this is again back in the 1920s, right, was a whopping $167 million. Okay. Now we can go to see.
Definitely 9 figures.
Now, guess what school Madam C.J. Walker went to? Right. Yes. So she went to Poro. She went to Poro College. So she came after Malone. Wow. She was taught by Malone. So again, and we don't know how many other women.
Black wealth, building black wealth, generation upon generation.
Correct. And so I was absolutely fascinated by that.
That's awesome. That's good to know, right there.
Yes. And then, let's go to Alabama. I don't know the song for Alabama other than for Jeffrey say Roll Tide. That's all I know about all of Alabama. Well, I know other stuff about Alabama, but positive stuff I know Roll Tide. But here's another positive story is about Arthur Gadsden. You ever heard of him? Arthur Gadsden had several businesses in Birmingham. He had the Gadsden, it was Citizen Savings and Loan Association. He had the A.G. Gadsden Construction Company. He had a financial institution called CFS Bank Shares, and throughout the 60s, he was one of the richest black men in America. You ever heard of him? Look at your face, man.
In Alabama.
In Alabama. And this is the thing about him that really, really got to me was that he was the leading employer of blacks in Alabama.
Wow.
Okay, so again, black wealth creating, opportunities for other people. And then, so let's fast forward to today's time, the 70s, 80s, 90s, since we've been on the planet.
Yeah, since
we've been here, right? Since we've been here, there was a gentleman by the name of Reginald Lewis. You ever heard of him? Any of you?
Believe so, but keep going.
Reginald Lewis, okay. He was listed in Forbes magazine, the Forbes 400 in 1992, right before you. He was considered the richest black man in America in the 80s. His net worth, let's see, well, forget his net worth for right now. Let's talk about what he did.
Yeah.
All right, remember back in the day, our parents, some of us, if your parents didn't have a lot of money, they made your clothes.
Yeah.
And they had patterns.
Yep.
And remember McCall? Butterwick, you probably, okay, so ladies, there was McCall and I believe there was Butterwick or something like that. He actually bought the McCall Pattern Company for $22.5 million, and then he sold it 3 years later for $65 million.
Wow.
Okay, talk about flipping.
That's how you flip.
That's how you flip. And then, you will know this name, he bought Beatrice International Foods for $985 million, renamed it to TLC Beatrice International. And that's a snack, food, beverage, grocery store conglomerate, and it became the largest black-owned and managed business in the country.
Wow.
And when he did this was in 1987, the year I graduated high school. Never heard of this guy, right? This would have been my hero back then had I known about him. In that same year, in 1987, his company reported revenues of $1.8 billion, making it the first black-owned company to have more than $1 billion in annual sales. 1987.
Wow.
Okay?
Look at you.
Right. I'm telling you. So, and then, fast forward to 2001. Who was the first black billionaire? Think BET?
Yep. You want to ask Johnson?
Robert Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Did I teach you any of this? No?
So what, I don't know. We'll look up his network, but he wasn't a billionaire, Lewis.
You know what?
I know his business was.
His businesses were, but when I was looking him up, I'm going to have to do more research. And a lot of times when people are wealthy, the one thing, and I'm going to talk about this during my Emma Knows Money segment.
Annie Turnbull Malone.
Annie Thank you, Annie Turnbull.
Shout out to somebody's significant other who brought that.
Is that your significant other?
No,
oh, my significant other. Thanks, baby.
Dropping knowledge out there.
That's the best manager of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we're looking up, when I was trying to look up people's net worth, one of the things that happens is you're able to calculate people's net worth by their businesses that they have. Certain information is public information.
Right.
But as far as things that they have, when they pass away, they pass their assets on to their kids through trust. Trusts are not public knowledge. So when you don't have a will or a trust and things like that and you pass away, everything that you have becomes public knowledge. So that's how sometimes we can generate people's net worth.
I would love to know, like those people that you brought up, what happened to their wealth? Where did it go? Who took it over?
I wanted to do that journey. And
I mean, that could be later,
yeah,
but I would love to
myself.
know, what I'm saying, like what happened to it when Lewis, when he passed.
Yeah, where did the wealth go?
Where did it go? Who took over?
Yeah, so let's look at today. Okay, there's a gentleman by the name of, and my wife she's gonna kill me again, but his last name is Smith, Robert Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a billionaire.
Right.
His net worth is about $4.4 billion. He is the richest African American.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why I'm bringing him up, let's talk about philanthropy. Okay. And philanthropy is important. We're all philanthropists. If you donate money to a organization or a charity, you are a benefactor. And you need to look at yourself as such, especially for tax reasons. And with this guy, he, let's see, some of the things that he's done, he signed a giving pledge. He's the first black American, to sign a giving pledge, which is he's committed to contributing half of his net worth to philanthropic causes over his lifetime.
Wow.
So that means half of what he has, he's given away. Wow. Okay, and he believes in, giving money away to people, all people, regardless of their background, country of origin, religious practice, gender, or the color of their skin.
So
He's just giving it away. And so, some of the things that he's done, he's committed about $20 million to the National Museum of African American History. He's given away, I think he had about 31 billion, no, 31 billion is what his company had under management, but what he did was he took the reserves from one of the funds he was raising, and whatever was left behind is what he was donating towards like scholarships and things like that. So, you know, he focused.
That's a big, I mean, if he's a 4.4 billion, you're talking about half of his net worth to give. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the math. I know y'all can.
Most likely more than he'll ever spend in a lifetime.
Who do you know that's giving away money that you like?
Locally in the city of Atlanta, I would say Killer Mike. He recently started a series on Netflix called Trigger Warning, where he's exploring a lot of the black activism that we're seeing, which is buying black, keeping your dollar inside the black community longer than a week, which I think is the average, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 6 hours, actually.
It's 6 hours?
That's on the show next week, guys. No,
It's
but
not
yeah,
long.
It's not long.
We would love for it to be a week.
Yeah, we would love for it to be a month. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with that. So I'll end up breaking that. I'll end up breaking that down next week.
But I like Trigger Warning. I enjoyed the whole, especially that first one when he said he was trying to survive off of black-owned products.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And he couldn't.
Wow! I was just thinking, I don't know if I could.
I'm just thinking about that. He was trying to survive off of was it a month?
For skincare,
no,
hair
he
care.
was. So the situation was that he had a show in Athens.
Right.
And so for the
Right down the
duration of
street.
that stay, he did his best to spend his money with only black-owned establishments and only on black created or owned products.
So just think about one thing, and let me tell you right now, vehicles.
Okay.
The only one that I know of is being produced in Africa presently.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, but I know there's a lot of stuff going on. Chance the Rapper is one person that I was looking at. He actually has donated about $2 million to the Chicago public schools, and then he donated another $1 million to go towards mental health.
Wow.
And it's supposed to be split up between, I believe it's like 6 agencies. Wendell Pierce, he was on The Wire.
Yep.
He ended up buying, there was over 40, I haven't driven, I rode a train from DC to Baltimore, and I saw a lot of neighborhoods, and I'm like, man, that was The Wire. So there's over 45,000 vacant homes in Baltimore. What he did was he ended up investing in a $20 million apartment complex into a project, and I think it's done. I'll have to do some more research on that, but to make sure that people have affordable living and that they're not living with buildings that are kind of like, I call them bombed out.
You remember Wait to Excel?
Yeah.
The big brother?
I know who Wendell Pierce
I'm
is.
just
I'm
saying.
saying you, for our viewers, you need to know who Wendell Pierce
Wendell's
is.
one of my favorite guys.
Hey, Wendell was a cop on The Wire. That's what I remember, because he was sorry in Waiting to Exhale. He
That's
was
what I'm
horrible.
saying.
He was horrible. I hated
some
him.
of you women out there.
I
he was
hated
the
him.
guy that everybody hated. They didn't like Wendell in that one.
Nah, he wasn't on his stroke.
The dream of the future, brought to reality by
Sensation Station Network.
Hey, welcome back, man. The second hour of the show, Financial Renaissance with the M's, with the EG and the MFer.
MFer? I don't know if my mom is going to like that. BMF. The MF.
We'll take the ER off.
Yeah, MFer really sounds bad.
You are that, though.
I am bad.
Hey, if you missed the first hour of the show, man, we're breaking down Black History Month. I think Emma's doing a great job of telling y'all about, not only about black wealth, how it went over the centuries, but how some of the misconceptions about, we didn't have money during periods of time. Because I think a lot of times we always look at the 60s, and going back to the brother was in the 1960s in Alabama during the time, some of the civil rights time.
Yes.
We don't know that there were people we still have millionaires, and we're talking about the richest man ever was from Africa.
Yes.
And things of that nature. So Emma has great, we talked to Sir Ramius folks.
Sir Ramius.
Sir Ramius folks, and he was talk to us about this generation and where they are, the quote unquote millennials, and economic, and do they feel like they have the economic empowerment?
I have a question for you.
To be able to do that. Go ahead.
I have a question for you about Janet Yellen.
Janet Yellen.
Yeah, she's she was the former chairwoman of the Federal Reserve. you know, do you think she did a good job? Do you think she was on point? You know, you and I, like, the weird thing is my son and I, my whole family, we have conversations about, if it has to do with money, we're talking about it.
Talking it.
Yeah, we're talking it. And, you know, I encourage people, when you have financial meetings, you have to have your kids there, all right? You have to have your kids involved in the conversations so that they understand what's happening in the world. So talk to me, son, about Janet Yellen. What do you think? Did she do a good job?
When I graduated in 2015, I think interest rates, they were doing quantitative easing or something like that. So they were artificially kind of keeping the interest rates low. So personally speaking, I think that I just got lucky and that I got out and graduated college at a time when interest rates were low. So getting a car, trying to get my first place, everything was slightly easier.
Right. It's interesting. Very interesting to say that. That's quantitative easing.
Quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is what the Federal Reserve Bank did when we hit our recession.
Right.
And the quantitative easing is what the federal banks, and it's the federal banks or the central banks in any nation does. They infuse money into the economy to prop the economy up.
Gotcha.
Okay, and when the Federal Reserve did that, they put about $3 trillion, I think. They bought bonds and they put that into our economy. And part of what we're going to be going through in the next few years is they need to sell that stuff back to us.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Ray. Seeing that your mom and how she was building and working through money, what was that like for you to be able to see her build this Emmanuel's money empire that she has going?
Well, it sounded like you asked me a two-part question. One being what it was like to grow up in a money-minded family or community, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then two, what it's like now seeing the culmination of those efforts
Yeah.
present day. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so growing up in a money-minded family, I think I was aware of more than I probably should have been at a young age. Not in my own household, but in terms of the world. Because I understood the significance of $1. I don't think that's something that most children understand till they're much older.
So let me explain why. So remember Blockbuster?
Yes.
Okay.
Very
So
much
we used
so.
to go to Blockbuster every Friday, okay? And he never liked to bring his wallet. He's always been real slick with money. So he would leave his wallet at home, and we would go to Blockbuster. You know, he'd get his movies, and then, you know, they have that bait stuff for the kids where it's all the cute candies and all that crap.
Right up front.
And he would say, oh, I want this, I want this. Where's your wallet? Right? You didn't have your wallet. And I said to you, I would buy it for you, but you're going to have to pay me back with what?
Interest. So
And he
from
was
a very
10.
early age,
Wow.
I learned that nothing in life is free.
Money's not free. I cannot lend you money for free.
Yeah.
And so, as a result, he very rarely asked me for money.
Job well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Job well done. And part 2 will be coming on the other side. But what else we got coming up?
Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about benefactors and some nonprofits, some people doing some good things out in the community with their wealth.
All right. Stay with us.
It's not great. It's fantastic. Sensation Station Network.
You're absolutely right.
It is Sean Prime from Inside the Loop with myself and Brenna B, and I've been talking about Jeans Body Tech for a minute simply because it's a premier gym in a pristine spot without a premium price. All the weight you need, all the machines you want, free parking, all in Buckhead. Come on, it's crazy. 700 Miami Circle is where you want to work out today. And for those who are feeling a little bit down because you may not have followed through on the healthy New Year resolution thing, hey, it's still the new year. You can start today. Look at yourself a year from now and hello, is that you? Because you're looking good, like snack-like. Yes, you are. 700 Miami Circle, or go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech, also known as JBT Fitness. Either way, $49 is nothing to pay to feel your best every day.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No, sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay. Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, mention people. Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Emma folks.
MF and EG. Don't put the ER at the end.
Yes. EG.
And I'm speaking with Ray, man, and the Ray folks up in the building. And we were talking about part 2 of that, and you talking about coming to the culmination of seeing what your mom was creating. So just finish that off before, the MF jump in again. So
Okay. So I think the last place that we left off was the topic of interest, and so I think that was the founding principle of what helped me understand the dollar. So again, that was probably like about 10.
I think you were 10, yes. Wow.
Yeah, so then, again, we're in high school, right before the recession, Mom was working as a manager, so a lot of late hours, a lot of understanding why she was working late hours. Understanding money helped me understand sometimes why I didn't have the same relationship with my parents as other people in terms of time. Sometimes my mom had to put time towards my future by taking it away from me now. And I think that that's one component of financial literacy that isn't discussed is time. Time is money. So when you think about the time that you have and how you spend it, it's because of money. When parents aren't spending time with their children, money. And it's just seeing my mom take her individual practice and grow it. I've always understood why at times we couldn't spend certain time together, but it seems like we're getting it back now. So
she was building for the future.
Exactly, and so that's something that was understood because she gave me my first stock. Well, she didn't give me. We took the money that we got from my birthday, and instead of spending, instead of spending it on toys or trinkets, she told me to find 5 of my favorite stock companies or publicly traded companies.
This is very important, y'all. I think this is very important.
And at about 12 years old, I was very into video games, but that didn't matter. I chose Activision, Blizzard, Microsoft, Wendy's. I love their fries. McDonald's. What was every kid screaming back in the day?
Yeah.
McDonald's.
That's most kids' first symbol that they recognize.
The arches,
right? Yeah,
exactly. So it was that, I guess, freedom, in a sense, for me to be able to choose my own portfolio that gave me the understanding I needed to not feel some type of way when my mom was investing time via money into my future.
That is so. I know she wasn't ready for that, but I can tell by her face.
I think this is the first time she's heard that, y'all.
You know, and you know, I joke around about watching Ratchet TV because I have issues. Some of my issues stem from the time that I feel like I stole from him. And so I'm always questioning whether or not I was a good parent, whether or not I did this right or I did that right.
I think a lot of people do, but I like what he said. You were invested in the future.
Right, and I'm glad I didn't know that he understood what I was doing, and so that's why my face looks like this. Like I low-key want to get off camera and go cry somewhere right now. Did I say low-key right? Is that what I want? Did I say that right?
A+, mommy.
He tries to keep me up on all the same.
And I know that'd be a great one later on the Ray Show, is to
Yeah.
talk about how people understand the investing of time and money and then things like that. But thank you, Ray. I'm glad you okay?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
I think we both over here about the crowd.
Yeah, I'm like,
You're like, man, this just took a turn.
I'm gonna give you some glasses and
Yeah,
be like,
I need some shade.
Let's talk real quick, guys.
Oh, all right. So let's talk about somebody fun. Let's talk about Diddy.
Diddy.
Diddy does it.
He just opened a school, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He opened a new school called Capital Preparatory in Harlem with Steve Perry, and Steve Perry is known for his work in charter schools and things like that. And Diddy has also donated millions of dollars to the Boys and Girls Club, especially the one in Harlem where he grew up. And so Diddy is constantly doing things to pour money back into the future. And giving money back doesn't mean paying bills. Giving money back means investing in the next generation. Hey, Ray, why don't you tell us what we did for you for Christmas?
So for Christmas, my parents, as long as I can remember, have known that I have an extremely creative personality, and so from voiceovers to accents, I've just always been practicing because I just used to love just the various characters in TV. So for my birthday, they actually got me voice acting lessons. And I can honestly say that the time that I spent taking those lessons, I feel like has created another money-making opportunity. And I think that's one of the reasons I feel like I have some of the best parents in the world, because instead of buying me, Jordan shoes or, because I know that's a common example. Everyone loved Jordans. I still love Jordans.
I'm wearing Jordans.
Yeah, so like let's not think of this as a punitive exercise. But instead of giving me something that would bring me satisfaction temporarily or short term, they gave me a money-making opportunity using a gift that God gave me.
I believe in return on investments. So if I buy him something, I want to know that he can either make money from it or provide for his family.
Right.
And so those are the types of gifts that make the most sense to me to give a person. You have what you need, and he can. He's self-sufficient. He's off my payroll. He's graduated from college. He's an accountant. He has a great job, et cetera, et cetera. But what can we do for him at this stage that will continue, that will pay dividends?
Always
That's how we look at it.
Investing. That's a good thing.
Multiple streams of income.
Multiple. That's one of my favorite phrases. Multiple streams. When we return, what we got coming up?
We'll talk about a couple more people.
Couple more people.
Couple more people.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To buy your home, you became a house-hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
You want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then because tonight we're going to have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Jerk Palace.
Text us with your shout-outs and requests to 678-613-58557. Radio, knock them down.
Hey, yes, man, we're back. You listen to Finance Renaissance with the M's. One thing I like about this show, when me and Emma sat down, it's funny, we were sitting down at a particular restaurant, we were talking about all the topics. It's the knowledge.
That was at the gathering spot.
Yeah, at the gathering spot.
When we really got into it, that was at the gathering spot.
But the one thing is, we're talking Black History Month, but we also tell you about some of the people that have made this history that we probably won't know. And that's the information that you're getting from this show, people. I've heard great things about it, so keep listening and learning. And right now, this show has really been focused on some great Americans, Black Americans, African Americans, people of Africa, people of color who have made money in this country that people don't know about. And we got a few more.
Yeah, we got a few.
Because we start with Diddy.
Yeah, we started with Diddy, and now I'm going to talk to Mr. Shut Up and Just Play.
LeBron.
Yes, LeBron.
James.
LeBron James. King James, right?
Right.
Also of Jamaican descent. Big up. LeBron James opened a school called I Promise, I believe.
Yep.
And he opened the doors to 240 at-risk third and fourth graders. And the reason why I say the word at risk is because the prison systems determine how many prisons to build based on the grades of third and fourth graders in urban communities.
Right.
So instead of reinvesting money into education, they go ahead and build prisons for them.
Wait a minute. Can you repeat that?
I will. Don't say anything though. But they 240 at-risk third and fourth graders. So LeBron James is investing in them so that they don't end up going to prison and filling these prisons that they're building.
There used to be back in the day a test called the Iowa Test of Basic Skills that we used to take in the third and fourth grade that they used to do that off of.
Yes. So we'll what? I'll give you some more information on it. Okay, I promise.
Somebody
I promise. I
What'd
know.
you say
I
about
just
the
head sprung. Head sprung. I had to look up the term for head sprung because I thought it meant something else. I had to look it up. But so what LeBron James is doing, and he's doing this through the LeBron James Family Foundation, and working with the Akron Public. And working with the Akron Public Schools. What LeBron James is doing is he's offering free tuition, free uniforms, free breakfast, lunches and snacks, free transportation within 2 miles, free bicycle and helmet, okay, access to a food pantry for their families, guaranteed tuition for all graduates to the University of Akron.
Wow.
And here's the thing that really, really got me. I see my son is, wow, okay. So what's more, the parents of the students will receive access to job placement services and help acquiring their GEDs if they don't have it.
Because of the fact that he found out that not only the kids have problems, but if the parents don't have things,
How can you teach your kids?
How can you teach
How
them?
can you teach your kids? So it's very important to make sure their bellies are full.
Yep.
It's very important to kind of be with them at every step of the way. And again, people aren't in the situations financially sometimes because that's where they want to be. That's just how things have happened.
And going back to what we talked about last week, when you don't raise the minimum wage either, it's hard to be able to take care of your children the way that you want.
And you cannot get mad at parents for not being there for their kids. As he mentioned about time, when you're trying to put food on the table, you sometimes have to take that time away and go try to earn a living. One other person we're going to talk about is what is it in nuclear engineering? Master of nuclear engineering. He was a airman. He was in the military. He was a NASA engineer. And he is known for having the most popular toy of all time.
The Nerf gun.
No, the Super Soaker. The Super Soaker, which is generated.
The Super Soaker.
Yeah, he developed the Super
A black
Soaker.
man made the Super Soaker, and I didn't know about it.
Yes.
His name is Lonnie Johnson. His name is Lonnie Johnson. And so far, the Super Soaker has earned over $1 billion in sales. Okay, he has about 127 patents currently pending.
127 patents.
Okay, now what he's done here in Atlanta, okay, here in Atlanta, he has a nonprofit called the Johnson STEM Activity Center. And what it's doing is it's funding high school robotic teams and offering them a creative way to, and a creative workspace so that they can build and do their stuff. And so this center, the Johnson STEM Activity Center, is open to everybody. And I believe it was last year, one of their teams, which had a group of young war refugees, qualified for the worldwide Texas competition.
Wow.
And they've only been competing for 2 years so far.
Wow.
So,
I believe I heard about that.
Yeah, so if you're looking for places, I mean, there's so many places if you're looking at, especially because with tax-wise, you can't itemize really anymore. So the other way of getting some tax relief is going to be by donating. Look up companies or look up nonprofits that are going to be doing things to raise up the next generation. That's something that's very, very important to me.
We'll talk about mine later. Not right now. They're still building.
If you don't like the disrespectful
you get a show.
kids, donate to the programs that
I want to build a little bit more.
Oh, okay. I'm saying at some point, we're going to do a show on you. You get time. Why'd you just tear up, sir?
I just teared up because of that factoid about
third and fourth grade
being the litmus test for the need for prisons.
You need to watch the 13th on Netflix. I haven't watched it, and in full disclosure, I don't watch things that are not going to put me in a good emotional space. I like to stay positive.
Yeah.
But I know the factoids from a lot of things, so I'll read about it before I watch it. If as long as it doesn't make me do what he just did.
Stay with us.
Honey, what you cook for dinner tonight?
Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
The bad news first.
I cooked nothing.
Well, that's the good news then.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no bad news then because tonight we're gonna have Jerk Palace.
Call Jerk Palace for authentic Caribbean cuisine, including vegetarian entrees with authentic Caribbean flavor. Call 770-892-5049. Located at 6221 Jonesboro Road, Highway 54 in Morrow, Georgia. Jerk Palace.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference. difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Our freedom and security are made possible through the service and sacrifice of our military and first responders. The Gary Sinise Foundation provides many outreach programs supporting these brave men and women. Join us. Donate at GarySiniseFoundation.org.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network.
Hey man, we're back. Financial Renaissance with the M. It's that time of the show with the MF. Drops that knowledge on it. You know what it is. It's Emma Knows Money. Emma, what you got for it this week?
This week we're going to continue on the theme of black wealth and trailblazing, but what we're going to talk about is protecting black wealth. We're going to talk about protecting the legacy or securing the bag, protecting the bag. So we're going to talk about a couple of steps. So the first thing that you can do is with your group benefits. You know, if you're a W-2 employee, you know, you should have, you know, life insurance, and you should also have something called disability insurance. A lot of times people confuse disability insurance with accidental death and dismemberment. They're not the same thing. Accidental death and dismemberment is a very cheap insurance that you get, you know, and it'll cover your life, but you literally, it has to be a full moon on the 12th or 13th month, and you actually have to die on the scene in many cases or lose limbs in order for it to pay out. Disability insurance protects your income. So if you're not able to work for an extended period of time, you know, the short-term and long-term disability, they'll pay you about 60% in some cases of your salary. It's 50, 60, 70% of your salary. However, it is taxable. Okay. The other thing that I would like people to look at is individual life insurance, because what they offer through work sometimes may not cover your family's needs. So you want to look at individual life insurance and also individual disability insurance. So let's think about this for a second. If you earn $50,000 a year and you have group disability insurance, if you go out on disability claim, 60% of your income is replaced, which is taxable. So now that $50,000 a year is really about $25,000. So you're going to take a pay cut of about half your money. So you want to make sure you have something else to replace it, especially if you, like a lot of people, are the sole breadwinner or the head of household. You want to make sure that you are securing your money. The other thing that you want to do is look at your property and casualty insurance, your homeowners and your auto insurance. And the one thing about homeowners insurance that people need to look at is you need to make sure that if something happens at your house, let's say there's a fire, somebody breaks in, and your TV's gone, right? You want to make sure that they're replacing the TV, but they're not giving you the depreciated value of your TV. And a lot of people have the depreciated value. So if you bought a TV, you know, a year ago, for $1,000, it may only be worth $500 now. You're not getting that same TV. Okay, so you want to make sure you're getting actual replacement value. The next thing that you want to do when it comes to securing your wealth or your legacy is making sure that you have a will in place. And a will, like that one slave owner that I told you about. In his will, he said, I give my assets to my one daughter, the majority of it to my one daughter. So you want to tell people what to do. I call it a letter from beyond the grave. The other thing you want is a power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, and that's who do you give the legal right to write checks or do financial matters on your behalf while you're still alive. And then you want a healthcare directive, and healthcare directives are important because if something happens to you, the doctors need to know what to do, and a lot of times we'll hear about the do not resuscitate. And there was a big case that happened a long time ago where, you know, a couple was talking about, you know, if anything ever happened to me, you know, and there was no hope of me, recovering, you know, pull the plug. But this young lady's mother didn't want to, and it cost the family hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep her alive, and that was not her wish. Right, and her and her husband had kids. So you want to make sure you have a healthcare directive in place, which tells the doctor what your wishes are if something catastrophic happens to you and you can't speak for yourself. And then the last thing we're going to talk about are trusts. All right, keep your business private. So if you have means and you don't want the world to know what your kids have now inherited, you want to put that stuff in a trust. A trust doesn't go through the public courts, so it's not of public record. When you die, if you don't have, you know, trust, etc., everything that you do goes through the probate court, and anybody that knows anybody at the courthouse will know that your family member now has means. okay? There are people that try to come up that way. So if you're interested in anything that I talked about, you can go to letsmakeaplan.org, and the first person that I'll tell you to go find is a certified financial planner in your area. Certified financial planners can talk to you about everything that I just talked to you about, from insurances to wills and trusts, and the proper types of insurances for you to get.
And that's Emma Knows Money.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers. People who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It is Sean Prime from Inside the Loop with myself and Brenna B, and I've been talking about Jeans Body Tech for a minute, simply because it's a premier gym in a pristine spot without a premium price. All the weight you need, all the machines you want, free parking, all in Buckhead. Come on, it's crazy. 700 Miami Circle is where you want to work out today. And for those who are feeling a little bit down because you may not have followed through on the Healthy New Year resolution thing, hey, it's still the new year. You can start today. Look at yourself a year from now and hello, is that you? Because you're looking good, like snack-like. Yes, you are. 700 Miami Circle, or go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech, also known as JBT Fitness. Either way, $49 is nothing to pay to feel your best every day.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad!
Oh, come on! This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, welcome back. Shout out real quick to my boy Antonio Turner saying everything that you just talked about during that point was on point. That's what the military hits on, and people don't know you have a little military background as well.
Yes, Antonio, I was in the military. But yes, that is what the military harps on, is just making sure you have all your ducks in a row to take care of your family in case you're no longer there. And that's, kind of what I'm talking about, is you want to make sure that if you, end up with a terminal disease or you end up in a bad car accident, that your family can still thrive and that your medical expenses or your death doesn't totally demolish your family.
Right. And I think that's very important because people think, if I'm not here, it's over. But no, people got to take care of stuff after you're gone, and we need to make sure everything is talking about. Because you brought up very good accident. AD&D, that kind of threw me out.
Yeah, because I would, in what I do in my day job, I'll ask people, oh, do you have disability insurance? And they'll say, yeah, I have, and they'll tell me they do. Then when I ask them, because, you have to prove it to me, it'll be accidental death and dismemberment. Do you know how this works? No. And a lot of times, people don't know how things work, and you have to know what you have before you need it. Those are some famous words by, I think his name was Captain John Horn. Back when I was in the military, it taught me that about people, but it's about everything in life. Know what you have before you need it.
Let me ask this, Ray. Starting off, you're young, just graduated college soon. What's some of the things that you try to put in place to make sure, even though you're young, you still got to protect your assets?
So personally speaking, I've been contributing to my 401k at the very least. I also have a secondary savings account with Capital One called Capital One 360. I've got an asset portfolio with Ameriprise Financial. The same stock portfolio that I've told you about previously, it's still in perpetuity, although I've sold off a couple of my stocks like McDonald's, Activision.
Do you have life insurance?
I most certainly do.
And I have a policy on them too. So it's also important to get life insurance on your kids.
Wow.
And especially when they go off to college. Yeah. And I don't mean to, I'm not being funny, but when your kids go to college, you're spending a lot of money to get them there. And if something happens, there's student loans that have to be paid back. So I always tell people, get life insurance when a kid is young, because when he hit puberty, he developed epilepsy. And so you never know what afflictions your kids may end up coming up with.
Wow.
So, yeah. We're dropping the knowledge today, son.
MF.
The great. The number one financial show.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm place on a cold day. Football stadium. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Already coaching? Everybody's a coach these days. I get it. Life coach, relationship coach, financial coach. But you want to be a coach with integrity. So get certified and do it the right way. Or add coaching to the work that you already do. Join a cohort or take classes at your own pace. We have knowledgeable instructors. We have a life-changing curriculum. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com to learn more.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda, that's $10,012. Please drive around.
Wait, 10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station
You
Network.
are listening to, watching us live on Facebook at Sensation Station Network. This is Financial Renaissance with the M's, and I'm your superhero, Emma Foulkes, and
I'm just on the side.
my Alfred,
Yeah.
my Robin.
Yeah, I'm sitting on the corner. Not like Alfred.
You like Alfred?
I like Alfred.
And my Alfred.
Alfred's the one like, the computer.
Yeah.
You're good, Emma. Let's
Yes,
go.
yes.
Take on the world.
And yeah, and we're talking about we were talking about financial, or celebrating Black History Month. We're talking about trailblazers, people that we didn't know that were millionaires in our country and also in Africa.
It talks about we're a resilient people.
We are a resilient people. Again, call it a comeback.
Yeah.
Call it a comeback. No more rags to
We've
riches.
had riches, we've lost,
Yes, and you've
say
heard the term
taken.
You've heard the term that if a millionaire loses their money, they can get it back.
Right.
And when I hear that terminology, and I've been looking at our history, I'm like, wow, it's been taken away from us several times, and we're able to make it back. It's when we look at protecting our legacy, one of the things I want to leave everyone with this week is a move your dollars forward tip of the week. And during my Emma Knows Money segment, I talked about, protecting your legacy, the things that you need to do to make sure that your family is shored up for generations to come. But one of the things you need to do is do an audit. You kind of asked me that, and I was like, wait. So what did you want to ask me now?
But how do you talked about all the insurance policies and all that, because I know, how often should you look over those policies and make sure they're up to date and checking the money and things like that? How often should you do that?
I do that once a year.
Okay.
I want to look at my policies because with disability insurance, if you have an individual policy each year, some policies have a cost of living adjustment rider, and sometimes you have to tell the insurance company that you want it, or at least acknowledge that you're getting it, because sometimes it can go away.
Gotcha.
You do want to look at all the policies that you have at least once a year and make sure your beneficiaries are straight, because this is how exes get the come up. So let's say you were married, got divorced, and you didn't change the beneficiaries on your insurance policies. You pass away, old wife gets the money, new wife and kid get nothing. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So you want to do an audit of your insurance policies, all of them. And if you don't understand them, then pay a CFP a couple bucks to find out what you have, and let them do the deep dive to explain to you what they have if you don't understand insurance language.
I mean, and do you have? Some people say at the beginning of the year, just make it an appointment to do that. Some people say tax time.
Yeah, tax time, and then I like to do it around spring cleaning. So for me, it's like in the beginning of the second quarter, like once I'm done with all the tax stuff and, updating our financial plan, et cetera, usually when we go through the financial planning process, we end up having to, show and prove all of our insurance stuff. So that's a great time to do it too.
That's awesome, and it's something you have to do.
You have to do it. You need to know what you have.
Beneficiary.
Oh my gosh, and especially like this. I don't know if I told the story about the woman whose husband died from an aneurysm, and then on his insurance policy, he had his child and his wife listed as the beneficiary, and that caused so many problems.
Wow.
So many problems. So you definitely want to check your beneficiaries, make sure that they're still relevant, that they're still alive, and that you still like them, quite frankly.
Very important. And don't most policies allow you to do percentages, or is that?
Yeah, you can do percentages. There's primary, like, you can have primary, my wife, 100%, and then if something happens to her, contingent beneficiaries. So there's primary beneficiaries, and then there's also contingent beneficiaries. And then there's, per stirpes. There's, if one of the people you have listed as beneficiary, if they die, let's say there's 3 people, if one of those people dies, it can either be, split up between the remaining two, or that person that dies, it can go to their bloodline. Okay, so there's different ways of having the beneficiaries. And again, if this is not something that you do every day, talk to someone who understands this so that they can make sure that what you want to have happen actually happens.
Take control of your future.
Take control of your family from beyond the grave. That's how I look at it.
The grave.
Yes, yes. And the one thing I really want to emphasize, and I think that, we talked about with this show, is, we're doing it not just so that I can run my mouth on a Sunday, because I think both of us,
We talk a lot.
we talk a lot, but, we would also like to sleep. But we want to make sure that we're giving information out to the community. And if you find value in the information you're getting from us, if you get the knowledge, please, please pass it on. Each one, teach one.
You about to make me do an outcast.
No, each one, teach one.
Tweets pointing college. Anyway, so when we come back, man,
Wrapping it up.
Stay with us.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
It is Sean Prime from Inside the Loop with myself and Brenna B, and I've been talking about Gene's Body Tech for a minute, simply because it's a premier gym in a pristine spot without a premium price. All the weight you need, all the machines you want, free parking, all in Buckhead. Come on, it's crazy. 700 Miami Circle is where you want to work out today. And for those who are feeling a little bit down because you may not have followed through on the Healthy New Year resolution thing, hey, it's still the new year. You can start today. Look at yourself a year from now, and hello, is that you? Because you're looking good, like snack-like. Yes, you are. 700 Miami Circle, or go to facebook.com/Gene's Body Tech, also known as JBT Fitness. Either way, $49 is nothing to pay to feel your best every day.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop.
Wait.
Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Alexa, what's the weather?
When you go to the ATL, you never know what the weather will be. But when you go to SSNATL.com, summer skies, 365, plus an awesome mix of urban hits up in there.
Can you feel that, buddy?
All day, every day.
Yeah.
You are listening to Financial Renaissance with the M's, and we have had an outstanding show today. A very fast show and a pretty emotional show, I would say. A lot of us got choked up and caught up. A lot of heads sprung, a lot of heads blew up. We do what we do. We love doing this show. Next week's show is going to be equally, I think everything I do is good. But next week's show, we're going to dive. I'm humble.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm humble. I'm humble. I'm humble.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about next week's show.
Next week's show, we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of continue on from where we were last week, talking about wages and income. And we're going to harp on how long does money stay in our country and how long does money stay in our communities.
Well, it's going to be
I may have to watch some of that Killer Mike show too to see. I want to see whether, how easy. I never tried or gave myself the challenge to try to, buy within my community.
Right. It's tough. He gives us some insight on some things. I think it's probably my favorite out of the series he's done.
The first show?
Yeah, it was my favorite. And it's like he just really hit a point that you really don't know. You'd be like, wow, that's tough that I can't go to get this in a particular place. I got to go all, it's just hard to find. And it's a great show. Also, I just want to say, this was for all you out there, go and research some of the people that Emma brought up today. It's amazing how when you go out and look up these type things, you get to see that history is bigger and deeper than we've been told. So you can go out and learn
Our
something. Our
story is bigger and deeper than has been told. And we have to pass this financial know-how and knowledge on to our kids. Our kids are looking for people to see themselves in. And it's so important that you see yourself in successful people.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to pass it on to our kids. Even if you're not at that financial stage, there's so many free things that you can do. If you don't have a computer, if you have a smartphone, you can get on Google and Google stuff and share it with your kids or make your kids do reports like, I would do with mine. His punishment was push-ups. I'm ex-military. Get you some real estate, sir. It was push-ups and doing research on people. But he's a 2-time All-American now, so it's all good. Junior Olympian. I did right. I did good.
You cut up back there, huh?
That's why he's so fast.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
That's why he's so fast.
Just a little cut up.
But listen, I want you to go to our page on Facebook. We're at Sensation Station Network. Go ahead and like or make your comments, and then you can find Emmanuel and us. You can find us on Twitter at Ems Said It, EMMS Said It. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Financial Renaissance. Go ahead and let us know how we're doing. We're here in the studio. We don't get a lot of feedback. I've got like 4 listeners. I think my mother, my son, my wife, and you. So I need to know who else is out there listening to us.
And also, just because the show is over, still comment, still send us stuff. Like she's saying, like the MF is saying. Get that stuff out there so we can, and it could be on the next show. She can answer some of those questions.
Yeah, definitely. And the show is going to be on, is it iTunes and Google something podcasts?
Probably.
Yeah.
Get all that.
Yeah, all that. So we'll be putting out those links on our Facebook page as soon as they're readily available.
Now you know what's coming up after this, right?
Tell me what's coming up after this.
Some smooth jazz. We got some smooth jazz coming on the Sensation Station Network. Also, a little later, we got Connecting the Dots on Beyond. I kind of like that show too. She be bringing and connecting the dots. So on a Sunday here at the Sensation Station Network, we teaching you about that money. We giving you that smooth jazz. We also help you connect the dots in life. You can't get that from any other station, man. I mean,
radio not dumbed down.
What did you learn through all your research when you was going through it?
I think the biggest thing was the financial GOAT. I had no idea that it was an African that was the richest person of all time, and nobody has amassed the amount of wealth that he has.
Financial GOAT.
The financial GOAT.
That's interesting. What I learned is that in 1960s during the right, there was a millionaire that was employing a lot of black people. That was very important. I mean, I've learned a lot.
And I'm sure there were, like I said, it was a rabbit hole. Yeah. So as you start doing as you start doing your research, and you learn stuff, please, each one teach one. Let us know about stuff too.
It's, we celebrate Black History all year long, but when you get a chance to go through it now. Ray, what did you learn today, sir?
I think the one thing that brought tears to my eyes, as y'all saw, was the factoid about just the 3rd and 4th graders.
Yeah, that's tough. But fortunately, it's a truth, and you see they're building a lot of them.
I mean, it speaks a lot to my childhood, because if you have children without access to food and nourishment. They're hangry. If you have hangry children, hangry young children without parents who have the ability to spend time with them, you have young, hangry, emotionally deprived, and emotionally neglected children. What is that a powder keg for? And I'll leave you with that.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. You enjoyed it?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me here today. I hope that I can come and join you all again in the
You
future.
really ain't got a choice, because honestly, you ain't like it's far from you.
Yeah, well, everybody knows where you live now.
Yeah, we done told them.
Well, people in the station, that
Yeah.
is.
Well, we ain't got nobody. Hey, just go to.
Just go to Ray's.
Don't so long.
When you're at Waffle House at 3 in the morning, this is who you call when you need a ride. Forget Uber.
I'm charging interest.
And we learned that at a young age.
Yes.
Ray had to pay that extra for that Blockbuster candy.
That's right. No freebies.
No
freebies. No freebies here. I give you what you need, what you want. You got to pay for it.
Thank you for joining the Station Network. Catch us later.
And there it is.